So welcome back to part 2 of how to plan a race route for the Transcontinental Race or any other free route ultra race for that matter. Part 1, as you may remember if you've watched it already, then you'll know that I put together kind of the basic outline. So I used the example of going from checkpoint or CP1 to CP2 in the 2024 Transcontinental Race. And we planned this route through Slovenia, Croatia and into Bosnia. Now this is kind of this is the route we decided to go for in the end. Bit of refining and things to be done still, but I'm not sort of going to overindulge in kind of the finer details of exactly where to go now. What I'm going to do is in this video show you how I kind of finish the route off and make it usable for the race. So the first thing we need to do, this route is 450 miles, so it's a little bit too long to have in one big file. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to split it into 4. I think that's probably the sensible thing to do. I find having smaller route files is good for your morale because you tick through them later quicker, and I always find that starting a new file is always a big positive. Also it makes it easier for the GPS to read, so it's not as laggy and you're less likely to get anything corrupted, and if anything happens to that file, it means you're not losing like the whole thing. So the first thing to do is split the file up. Now obviously I'm in RidewithGPS. It's what I use for a lot of my route planning. Before I go any further, I just need to say a big thank you to Redshift Sports, who are sponsoring all my Transcontinental Race coverage. They do things like the endurance, the Shock Pro endurance seat post. I'm actually using one of the suspension stems on my bike for the Transcontinental Race, and they do loads of cool handlebars and things like that. So yeah, been good supporters of me. So go and check those guys out, give them some love. So back to RidewithGPS, and right, let's split this route up. So we've planned this. We're happy with where we're going. We're happy we're not going on any of the banned roads, which, as you can see, is the resource here. This is provided by the race organisers, and you can see there's roads all over Europe that are kind of banned, and some of them because of tunnels, some of them because they're excessively busy, and some of them I suspect just because they want to make you go on some nice scenic road, which is fine. So we've planned all of that and we're happy with this route. So now we need to split it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got my route open. You may remember this is the one we planned last time. I'm going to go split route. So click on split route, and basically you use this elevation profile here. So it's 455 miles. I'll do like 115 miles per section. I think that's probably going to be best. So what I'm going to do is I get to 150 miles here and I basically just click split. And as you can see on the left hand side here, it's basically split the route up and taken that chunk off it. So what I'm going to do as I go along is set name. Normally, I mean, it's up to you how you label things. I'm just going to go 1 to 4 on this. So TCR 24 part 1. You may want to put start and finish locations. Obviously as well, this is kind of a quarter of the way into the race, so it'll probably be like file 6, 7, 8 and 9, but for this example I'll just put part 1, and your labeling is totally up to you. This is how I do it. I like to keep it nice and simple. So as you can see, TCR 24 part 1. If I go on to the bottom section here, that is now the rest of the route. So again, I'll do another 115 or so miles. Seems like it's about right. Obviously I'm not into exact science on numbers, as you may have guessed by now. There are definitely other ways to do this, and probably I'm sure there's people with spreadsheets with options and things like that, but I'm just not into that. So I kind of do it a bit more by eye and feel, and I do want a bit of adventure as well, so I don't want it all to be like a totally kind of stale process. So set name TCR 24 part 2. And again, we just repeat that, and we can probably just do one more now. So let's do it at the top of this, or the bottom of that climb. Yeah, we'll do it at the bottom of this gravel climb here. Oops, I need to. Helps if you hit the split route button. So we'll do that there. Again, just keep the renaming. You don't want it like a massive long name, because obviously when you see it on your GPS, you want it to be you want to be able to find it and identify it quite easily. And then that leaves the final part, which is this one here. So set name TCR 24, we're on part 4, aren't we? So save that. And yeah, we basically then just got to save all of these parts. So I'll save that one. Well, when it gets there eventually. You can view route. We'll do that in a new tab. Same for this one. Save as new route. And again, yeah, you get the idea. So we'll do that for all of them, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how I do a bit more like detail on the route, and put little cues and things in to help me while I'm racing. So there's a couple of things I do. If you're familiar with your GPS unit, you'll notice that the kind of each time there's a turn, you get an alert, a cut or a cue, and it tells you to go left or right or straight. You can turn those off, but you can also make custom ones. So what I'll do is I'll take this part 1. Again, the process I'm going to do now, you'll have to repeat it for each section. And I think my final TCR route was like 23 sections. So I did this for 23 sections. It's quite time consuming, but I think it's well worth it. So yeah, so the next thing now is just really digging down to it. And you notice I've got the Google Map layer selected now. I find this really useful because basically all the information that's on Google is then available while you're doing this. So you can see like accommodation, restaurants, things like that. That's kind of useful stuff that you need to know on the TCR. So the first thing I do, we need to go into edit screen. So edit in planner. As you can see, this cue sheet here on the left, these are all the cues that pop up on your GPS as you're going along. And to be honest, I don't want all of these here. So what I tend to do is just thin them out a little bit and just keep the key ones on there. The other thing as well is if you go on the route, certainly on the Wahoo that I use, and you look at the cues, it gives you a countdown. So like 42 miles at the roundabout, take first. So in 42 miles, you've got that turn. But I found you can use that really usefully. It's a bit of a hack to give you a list of things coming up. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trim those down a little bit, just because I don't feel like I need all of them, because like going straight on at a roundabout, normally if I'm going straight at a junction or something, I don't put a cue in, just because it's kind of straight, like common sense. So I'm going to go and review cues, and you can see here that it kind of tells you, all the cues. So I'm going to probably just delete a load of out. So that's straight on there. I'm going to delete that one out. I'm going to delete that one out. We're on the same road here. I don't really feel like I need these cues, so I'm just going to delete them. Delete that one, delete that one, delete that one. Until there's a major turn, I'm probably just going to leave them like as they are. Now this is not the same for everyone, and other people. So here's a right-hand turn. So what I'll just do is I'll zoom in and see. Yeah, so we don't want to miss this turn. So what I'll do is I'll leave that cue in there. So what you can do is just go to the next one here. Probably I'll delete that one out, delete that one out. Again, straight line cues, don't really need them. Now this is the kind of example of the cue that I definitely leave in. So I'd leave this left turn and this right turn, because if you've been on this road for a long time, you've got your head down, you're not paying attention, it's easy to just go straight on. So you want that cue just to beep at you, just to tell you to turn. So I'll leave that, and I'll leave the right hand turn in. And then again, we're on a straight line, so I'm probably just going to delete that. You get the idea. And again, it's kind of personal. It depends on what your kind of how your brain works when you're riding. That looks like it's barely a road, so I think it'll be obvious on that road. This one, I mean, I tend to leave these in because once you get to a T-junction, you're going to stop, so you're going to look at your things, look at your GPS. So I'll delete that one out. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. I'll leave that in because that's a bit of a turn. And yeah, that's it. So that's the end of the reviews. So you can see now that the list is a lot shorter. So the reason I'm doing this is when I bring the cues up to review them on my Wahoo, that's what I use. I'm sure it's the same on Garmin. You'll see that you basically get a list of distance to each turn. Now that doesn't seem to make much sense right now at this very second. However, what we're going to do next is drop some POIs and custom cues onto the route. So this is going to be really useful for things like resupply and food. So you can see that the checkpoint starts up here. Actually, we've got to climb up to that point to start the parkour. So I'm then going to just zoom in really and just look for useful things. Primarily, it's going to be accommodation and places I can get food or water. So the first thing we find here is there's some accommodation. So you can just click on it here. So this is why I use Google Maps. If I click on that, it shows show on Google Maps, and you can see that that's kind of like a little, obviously a guest house. To be honest, I tend to stick with surefire stuff. It doesn't look like the kind of place you could just rock up. So I'm probably not going to add that as a useful kind of bit of information on this particular example. So again, like apartments, again, they're the kind of place you need to kind of have a reservation before you get there, which you don't know exactly when you're going to be there. So I tend to just put hotels in, if I'm honest. So if we'll see if there's any hotels or supermarkets. You can see there's supermarkets in town here. What I might do is I might just put a custom queue here, and say so basically go custom queue, and I'll put food, and I'll put supermarket, and I'll put in brackets right turn in town. So then if I'm desperate for some food, it's going to beep at me, and it's going to flash up on my Garmin or my Wahoo, and it's going to say, the road's obviously going left, but if you go right, there is stuff in the town here. And then I'll drop a POI. And the POI, that will basically, this point of interest. If I then look at this on my app, then it will make it kind of clear where the supermarket is. So convenience store, supermarket. Oh, it's not how you spell supermarket, is it? Supermarket. And what I'll do as well, I'm just going to click on Google Maps. And this is something I do to every single store, and I've done throughout the whole kind of TCR route. I'm going to look at opening hours, 7 till 7. So I'm going to put 7 till 7. Now I know what this means. Obviously, if you just looked at my file, it might not be so obvious. But I'm doing it, so it makes more sense to me. So now I know that if it's 6 p.m. and I'm here, then that's going to be open. So it's worth going a mile off route to get the supermarket. So yeah, you can see now that the first queue on the left here. So if I go into the menu and show all queues, it's going to say 15 miles. So I know that if I'm desperate for water, I know I've got 15 miles to go, and I know it's downhill. So that's not really too much of an issue. Again, there's more little bits and pieces here, a few campsites. I think it's more like touristy stuff, not the kind of place you'd rock up at like 1 in the morning on TCR and expect to be able to get a bed. So again, this is just before the second part of the climb, so you probably want to resupply here. I'm just going to check this little market and see what it says. Now I'm not going to do every single thing, so that's 7 till 8, and you can see here as well, it's only a tiny shop, but there's a coffee machine out the front. You can see that quite clearly. So what I'm going to do is, you're not going to get a major resupply, but you can get some food, you can get some water, you can get kind of sandwiches, the basic stuff. So what I'm going to do here is just, the key thing is, you need to put as much information as you can on this file. So convenience store, supermarket, was it 7 till 8? I think it was. I'll just copy that. And then I'll put the custom queue. The custom queue is important because obviously it beeps up and it shows you the distance to it in that left-hand menu. So food, I'll just copy that, and I'll also put coffee machine. So I know that if I'm freezing cold in the middle of the night and I'm looking at my custom queues, and I use this as a list so I can break down what to aim for. So you can imagine it's really useful for hotels. So say you had a hotel at like 40 miles and 50 miles time, and it was 8 p.m. You could then work out how far you think you can get and where you're going to be able to go. So we're still on the checkpoint here. I might just put the summit in. So you can put summits. Where are we? It's about there, isn't it? So I might just put the POI just to show where the top is. So there's a summit button somewhere. Where is it? Summit, yep. I can't remember the name of the... I just put CP Summit. I think it's Rizik Pass. I'll just put that for now. Yeah, Rizik here. And you can also then put a queue in as well if you wanted to. So if you want to know how far and count down to the top of the climb, you can just add that in. Like, I'm not being super accurate, as you can see, but it's enough. I think it's enough to know where you are roughly. So you can put summit in your queues and just save that. And again, it just pings you up and lets you know. So this is the CP. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just draw a little line, a little dot there and a little dot there. And then I'm just going to drag this out to there. So putting the dots either side just holds it in place. And then I'm put a custom queue in. We've put the CP in. I'm just put CP1. Oh, we've done that already. And I'm just going to put a custom queue here. I'll put right turn to CP, because obviously the last thing you want to do is go straight over the mountain, start descending and miss the checkpoint. So by having that thing beep at you, you'll know that you need to turn right. So yeah, so that is kind of the thing I do, and then I'll just do that for the entire route basically. Just go through. You can see there's more hotels here. So what I'd probably do in this instance, I'd probably put a custom queue and I'd just put generic hotels in town, and then I'll just drop some POIs on each hotel. Put lodging on. That way I know that when I'm if I look at my app, like I know there'll be hotels in town, and then I can look at my app and just see roughly where they are. Chances are you'll see them from the road. But yeah, it's all about making life as easy as possible. And then I'll just carry on, and all the time I'll just be keeping an eye on the route and just making sure that, you know, I'm on a good route. I'm not hitting any banned roads. This is a chance to kind of to basically, you know, make sure you double check everything, make sure you're not hitting banned roads. The other thing I look for is petrol stations. I've got basically a list of petrol stations all the way through Europe. So this opens. Oh, that's complicated. To be honest, I probably won't put that in there because I'll just find one that opens more and put that as a note. You don't need everything, but if you've got something every 20 miles or so, then you know you're going to be okay. So I'll put a supermarket in here. McDonald's. That's always good for a quick dinner. So I'll drop a POI and put a custom queue. So I seem to have doubled back on my route here somehow. I think I did that earlier. McDonald's. I'll put that in there, so that'll ping up. I'll put POI, and you kind of get the idea now. So essentially, I'll be doing this for the entire route. I'll do it for like 23 files, I think it was, and then you just have an idea the whole way through. It's easy to plan, and yeah, it's kind of it just makes life easier. So I've got basically this cue sheet on the left is what I'll be going by on the TCR. Just, you know, the supermarkets, the accommodation, things like McDonald's, the hotels. It just makes life a lot easier. And then also you have the kind of like the key turns as well. So I'll save that, and now I'll do that for the other files. Update the file, and there we go. So yeah, that is pretty much how I plan my TCR. I know it's a very rough generic video, but I think that should give you some key tips as to what to look for, using the heat maps, using other people's previous routes, and then yeah, just avoiding those banned roads, and then just digging in, putting as much detail as you can. Hotels, gas stations, opening hours, supermarkets. You might want to put restaurants in. I don't bother putting restaurants in, mainly because I know I can survive on bread and ham, but restaurants, you know, you'll find some at some point. So yeah, hopefully that's useful. Hopefully you're enjoying watching the TCR. I've got a load more videos on my bike and kit and things coming out, and hopefully a video from the race itself. So yeah, see you in the next one.